Sea of Thieves is my favorite game. In fact, I'm writing a video right now about why that is, so if you want to see that, subscribe. But there's one specific part about this game that I wish was very different. The fishing. The fishing in Sea of Thieves f***ing sucks. It takes so long to catch anything, it's not rewarding at all. Every single sailor I've met who gets excited to fish, after 20 minutes of doing it, they never want to touch a fishing rod ever again. And I think the sentiment that the Hunter's Call doesn't get enough love is carried throughout the community. Hunter's Call was the only adventure mode faction to not get an emissary in Ships of Fortune. Every other major faction has been updated in one way or another, with new voyages, new cosmetics, and just new rewards and things to go for. Except the Hunter's Call. Even the Arena, which is considered by many to be a dead game mode, has gotten way more updates than the Hunter's Call. Now Rare, it may seem like people like to fish by the data you collect on what people like to do, but just because you hold a fishing event that has specific cosmetics people want, doesn't mean fishing is fun or rewarding. In fact, it's quite the opposite, as I've stated previously. Now, I don't think complaining is productive unless you're giving feedback on what to change. So given these problems, how would I change the Hunter's Call? It's not that I don't like fishing in general. When I play a game like Red Dead 2 or Far Cry 5, I think fishing is really fun. And that's because there's variety in the time it takes to catch the fish. A ruby splashtail should not take me the same amount of time to reel in as a stormfish. That makes no sense. It should take me at most 10 seconds to catch a ruby splashtail. If it was easier or harder to pull in a fish, depending on the type of fish, I think that would do a lot to make fishing easier and just generally more enjoyable. It wouldn't feel like a chore to fish on the way to the next location, and that would give plenty for our crew to do during some downtime. I think the pricing of the fish, for what it is completely fine. 65 coin for a splashtail is totally fine. But what I mean when I say the Hunter's Call isn't rewarding, is that Sea of Thieves' progression system is purely cosmetic based. Every other faction has at least some cosmetics that favor to them, except the Hunter's Call. And don't say the Hunter set, cause that's just a Bloodborne reference. I'm trying to dress like Chef Boyardee. I'm trying to look like the most raggedy piece of shit on the seas. And while you can do that, I think some more clothing sets to represent and roleplay the Hunter's Call would be great. Another thing, Rare. With the Festival of Fishing event, you implemented fishing voyages. They're in the game already. Why haven't you implemented them in the Hunter's Call? That is probably the easiest addition on this list, aside from making catching fish faster. It's literally there, ready for you to do. Now that you can buy resources, why can't you buy bait? Collecting bait is a pain in the ass, and it always feels like you never have enough for what you actually need. If you could travel to a seapost and buy some bait, that would be awesome. And when I'm using bait on my hook, stop giving me splashtails! I think these additions would generally make fishing more fun. It would incentivize players to do it more, and make fishing in between islands much less boring. Now compared to my other ideas, these are much easier to implement. Here's some more wishful thinking. How about some different types of loot? Until the addition of the shipwreck voyages, most of my friends have never even done a single Merchant Alliance voyage. But they've been Pirate Legends in that faction since year 1. How did they do it? World event loot. Fort loot is a godsend for leveling up. Maybe if there were different types of loot for the Hunter's Call, it would incentivize people to use that faction more. Maybe when you open a fort vault, you'll find some lobster traps or crab cages. Maybe you could hold the head of a kraken's tentacle or a megalodon's tooth. You wouldn't be able to cook these, and they would be about the worth of a stronghold chest or ancient bone dust crate. I really like the idea that the Hunter's Call is also about hunting sea monsters. Merrick was the OG Meg Hunter after all. Maybe, once you're higher level in the Hunter's Call, you could undergo more daring missions, where they send you to a specific corner of the map to fight a scripted megalodon or kraken, but instead of dropping world event loot like they normally do, they would purely drop Hunter's Call loot. A bunch of meat or a meg tooth, some of the stuff I suggested earlier. Maybe, if you undergo higher level fishing voyages, it would provide you a special lure or something to increase your chances of getting more special fish. Or maybe this could tie in with the Hunter's Call emissary. When you reach grade 5, maybe you'll get that special lure, or you can just buy unlimited grubs from them. That works too. What if, similar to the rowboat, you could find a fishing net out in the world to attach to the back of your ship? Replacing the rowboat spot, it would passively catch fish while you're sailing. These fish would probably only be splashtails, but I think this is a great idea. You could make yourself an actual fishing vessel, and you're sacrificing the convenience of a rowboat for some extra food or fish to sell. What if you could do the same but with your fishing rod, setting it off the side of your ship? You could perch your fishing rod up on the side of the boat, maybe even where the pet spots are, and it would slowly but surely catch ruby splashtails. The only downside is you would have to physically grab the fish off and cast the line out again so it can catch more. Again, I think these are all great ideas to passively bring your crew some more food. Now, fishing with the Hunter's Call is only half the battle. There's also cooking. And cooking in the state it's in, it's fine, I mean it works, but I have much grander ambitions. The cooking as is requires you to place food down and watch it. There is zero skill involved with this, you're just waiting to see it turn a specific color. Now what if we took a page out of Breath of the Wild's book? Now it doesn't have to be that complex, but for a game where you're always grabbing resources, it's only fitting that we would be able to grab ingredients too, right? Maybe we could keep the normal system where it just requires you to look at the stove. But if you want to give your food some extra status effects, maybe you could trial and error specific recipes with different ingredients you find out in the world. Adding complexity to cooking would be a great addition in my opinion. But what do you guys think? Comment down below what you would do to the Hunter's Call. I have probably my longest video yet coming soon about Sea of Thieves. It's in pre-planning, so stay tuned for that. See you around and thanks for the video.